I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network. Democratic members of Congress are completely shredding MAGA Republicans during live hearings that are still taking place, and especially they are focusing their attention on calling out the weakest Speaker of the House in American history, MAGA Republican Kevin McCarthy, who didn't even have the votes to adjourn Congress. And so he told members of Congress to go home. But fortunately, the Democratic members and some Republicans stayed, and they are trying to figure out a way to make sure the government could be funded and pass a continuing resolution. And so even though Kevin McCarthy basically said, go home, that was Kevin McCarthy's strategy, these hearings are still taking place. I want to show you Democratic Congress member Joe Neguse, who is incredible in calling out Kevin McCarthy and the MAGA Republicans. In this first clip, as they are going through the issues with the Rules Committee, why certain things aren't being presented, you'll see Congressmember Neguse having this dialogue with MAGA Republican David Joyce, who is the chair of the Appropriations Homeland Security Subcommittee. And Congressmember Neguse, the Democrats, just saying, okay, why didn't you present to us just the documents we even need to review? You had 100 days to do it. Who's in charge here? Who's in charge? Play this clip.
My dear friend Henry Cuellar try to find better ways to make implement a strategy to contain what's happening at the border, because it's a national shame.
And I, for one, want to say I appreciate your commitment. The question I have is, why has it taken 100 days for the Homeland Security Subcommittee and the full Appropriations Committee to bring this bill to the Rules Committee, if the situation on the southern border is as urgent as you and I both believe it is?
Well, I certainly agree that if I was, running this place, I prioritize things perhaps in a different way. But
aren't you running the place? Who is in charge?
Well,
do I talk to the Republican whip? Do I talk to Speaker McCarthy? Who do I ask this question of?
Well, the appropriations process normally takes place we have our field hearings throughout the first 6 months of the year.
Sure.
July, generally, as we have processed 10 of our 12 bills. The other 2 should get done shortly.
You did your work. June 21st, you marked up the bill. June 21st was 100 days ago.
Correct.
That's all I'm trying to ask is, what happened in this intervening 100 days? Why didn't we take up this bill last month? Or maybe in July? I don't understand.
I've been ready to go on June 22nd, sir, but I don't dictate the schedule.
Do you understand why the American people would be frustrated as they see a Republican caucus that purports and states that the situation on our southern border is urgent, but waits 100 days to bring a Homeland Security funding bill to the House floor?
And here, Democratic Congressmember Joe Neguse tells this MAGA Republican, well, at least what you're telling me, I thought your position as the chair of the Subcommittee for Appropriations and Homeland Security, I thought that was you, but I guess you don't know. I guess nobody knows who's in charge here. Here, play this clip.
The Appropriations Committee, I have substantive disagreements, which we'll go through with respect to this particular bill, but the committee marked up the bill. And my point that I'm simply trying to better understand, I suppose, or the question that I am trying to reconcile in my mind, is why the House Republican majority decided to spend the summer on bills regarding gas stoves and the lesser prairie chicken, and then send everyone home for a 47-day recess, only to come back and 7 days before the government is slated to shut down and troops and Border Patrol agents are slated to not receive paychecks, decide that now they'd like to bring this bill to the floor. That is my point. Your answer in the very beginning was a candid one, that, I should talk to who's running the place. And that clearly is the Speaker and the Republican leadership. So I suppose, I don't know that they testify in front of this committee. So maybe I'll be waiting and the American people will be waiting on an answer.
And here, Congressmember Joe Neguse talks about, how did we get here? This is a perfect primer that I want you all to watch. So if anybody asks you, how is it that we are here in the first place? This is why we are here, because of MAGA Republicans and Kevin McCarthy. Play this clip.
Just think about that. More House rules have failed in the last 5 days than in the last 20 years. in the House of Representatives. That is House Republican control. Dysfunction. Now, most Americans might wonder, how did we get here? And I suppose, what legislative strategy has the House Republican caucus devised or developed to avoid a government shutdown? Apparently, that strategy is waste an entire summer debating bills on protecting gas stoves and the like. Wait 8 days before government funding runs out, and then bring before this committee and the full House a series of partisan bills that stand no chance of passing in the Senate, much less being signed into law by the president. That's why we're here. And yeah, I think I heard someone, one of your colleagues, Republican colleague, I don't know if the microphone caught it, I believe you said he's not that wrong about it, right? Is that what you said? Mr. Ogles, have a chance to testify. Maybe perhaps he can confirm whether or not my summation of the events of the past 4 months is accurate. I suspect some of my Republican colleagues will be intellectually candid and honest about it and saying that that's true, that my description of the last 3 months under Republican control is accurate. It's unfortunate because there are Border Patrol agents and members of our armed forces, federal government employees across our country who are wondering whether or not they will get a paycheck in 8 days, whether or not the Republican caucus will get their act together so that the government can remain open and running.
And by the way, MAGA Republican Matt Gaetz does not disagree with that assessment. Matt Gaetz says it's the Republicans' fault. Watch in this pretty bizarre moment for Matt Gaetz, him actually sounding somewhat rational here. Granted, the things that he wants to put in these spending bills or take out of these spending bills would be cataclysmic. I'm certainly not giving him a pass. His policies, his views are utterly disqualifying in my view and atrocious. But here he's saying, we did it and it's Kevin McCarthy's fault. Play this clip.
Members are fighting for would be helpful to our deliberative process. And so we endeavor upon that work today. But there can be no denying that Mr. Neguse made very valid points in criticizing this Republican majority for having not done so sooner. And we own that failure, and now we have to break the fever. We have to kick the habit of governing by omnibus and continuing resolution. This government is about to run $2 trillion annual deficits. We are $33 trillion in debt. Both parties have contributed to that substantially, and I believe the reason that regardless of which party is controlling the place, we seem to always gravitate to these omnibus bills and continuing resolutions is because we don't have the courage to actually cut spending. And the discussions that we just witnessed on the Homeland Security bill, on the State and Foreign Ops bill, those are precisely what our constituents expect of us. So while I know that this is but a step and there's a great deal of work to do, while I know that it was a bad sign that Speaker McCarthy at 3 o'clock on a Thursday functionally sent people home, I am heartened that you are here. I am heartened that my colleagues from across the Republican conference are here to work through these measures. And I believe the rule that you are about to vote on and hopefully pass provides us the greatest platform to do deliberative governing and to reduce spending in a way that is consistent with our values and the reality of divided government that we currently live in. I thank the committee for its indulgence, and I yield back.
And here is MAGA Republican Lauren Boebert, fresh off her trip from the Denver Public Theater, also basically saying it's their fault. It's MAGA Republicans' fault, Kevin McCarthy's fault. Play the clip.
To do the hard work of governing, and unfortunately, we have wasted many months, and now we are here at this critical deadline of government funding running out and us on the brink of a shutdown. But this shows a lot of good faith, us being here, dedicated, talking about this rule. My colleagues and I, we're fighting to fund the government. We're fighting to uphold the promises that we made to the American people back in January. We took that speaker's race very, very seriously, not because of a person, but because of the policy, because of the procedure. We wanted to ensure that we were making fundamental changes to the way Congress operates.
Did you know that poor sleep can cause weight gain, mood issues, poor mental health, and lower productivity? Sleep is the foundation of our mental and physical health and performance in our days. Having a consistent nighttime routine is non-negotiable. I know in my own life, when I don't get enough sleep, not only am I irritable and grouchy, but my performance, be it in work or life in general, just greatly suffers. Introducing Beam Dream. You know we've been raving about Beam Dream's powder, their healthy hot cocoa for sleep. And today our listeners get a special discount on Beam Dream powder, their best-selling healthy hot cocoa for sleep with no added sugar. Now available in delicious flavors like sea salt caramel, cinnamon cocoa, and chocolate peanut butter. Better sleep has never tasted better. Dream contains a powerful all-natural blend of reishi, magnesium, L-theanine, melatonin, and nano CBD to help you fall asleep, stay asleep, and wake up refreshed. A recent clinical study revealed Dream helped 93% of users wake up feeling more refreshed, and 93% reported that Dream helped them get a more restful night's sleep. Just mix Beam Dream into hot water or milk, stir or froth, and enjoy before bedtime. I've personally tried Beam Dream, and it lived up to the hype. First off, it was delicious and just a lovely nighttime routine. And secondly, and most importantly, it helped me fall asleep and stay asleep. The next day, I woke up ready and eager to take on the day. Find out why Forbes and New York Times are all talking about Beam and why it's trusted by the world's top athletes and business professionals. If you want to try Beam's best-selling Dream Powder, get up to 40% off for a limited time when you go to shopbeam.com/Meidas and use code Meidas at checkout. That's shopbeam.com/Meidas and use code Meidas for up to 40% off.
Love this clip right here. This is Democratic Congress member Jim McGovern saying, maybe I should just meet with Kevin McCarthy, because it seems like whenever you meet with Kevin McCarthy, he's just trying to find an escape room, and he'll tell you, we've got a deal here. And then he'll go to the next room and say, no, here's the deal. Here's funding. Take away the funding. Watch Democratic Congress member Jim McGovern play this clip.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and let me welcome the panel. Finally, a panel that includes people who are in charge around here. Dr. Burgess just went through wistfully all the things that used to be and things that he wished were in place today. You all have as well, but I'll remind you, you're in charge. You can't blame Nancy Pelosi for this. You can't blame Joe Biden for this. The Republicans control the House of Representatives. You can have as many open or closed rules as you want. Not only has the appropriations process been a complete mess, but the process in general has. And this is not a slight to my friend, Mr. Cole, because I know he is on the side of more openness, but there have been 37 completely closed rules this year. That's more closed rules to date than the previous two Congresses.
Here's Democratic Congress member Jim McGovern again. Play this clip.
Please just be honest. These bills are partisan talking points, and we need to get serious. Like yesterday, I said it earlier and I'll say it again. People are fed up with Kevin McCarthy's weak, ineffective, incompetent leadership. It's like every room the speaker goes into is an escape room. He just does whatever he needs to do to get out, even if it means caving to MAGA Republicans every single time. He has one meeting and Ukraine money is in. The next meeting, the Ukraine money is out. Maybe I should ask for a meeting with him. All he does is say yes. Maybe I'll get something I want. But enough already.
And by the way, only MAGA Republican Kevin McCarthy, who's so spineless and weak, can lead to MAGA Republican Tim Burchett saying that Nancy Pelosi is very effective. This is MAGA Republican Tim Burchett applauding Nancy Pelosi and criticizing Kevin McCarthy. Play the clip.
I understand if we shut down the Ukraine said that.
Speaker?
I have my questions. I have my doubts right now because I'm seeing we need leadership, ma'am. We don't need someone just to say we got 218 votes or whatever that jumps on the train after it leaves the station. We need some people. Speaker Pelosi, for instance, I'll give you I don't agree with her ever, hardly on anything, but she was pretty successful in the way she did it was she put an issue out amongst her caucus. She met with them. She got she figured out what they wanted, and then they put it on the floor and they passed it and they rallied around it. A lot of work goes into that, but we're not seeing that. I'm not seeing that work right now. And it's very disappointing to me.
A rare compliment from a Republican for former Speaker Pelosi.
She's a friend of mine. I mean, she has a granddaughter named Isabella, and I have a daughter named Isabel. And my daughter got hurt real bad last year on a horse, which she actually won world championship in her division. And Speaker Pelosi is always asking me about her. So, yeah.
I'd love to hear that. And we hope that your daughter is recovering well. Congressman, you got a lot going on.
Here is Congressmember Eric Swalwell saying he has zero sympathy for Kevin McCarthy. Play this clip.
Burn the whole place down. That is what House Speaker Kevin McCarthy is accusing a handful of Republicans, 5, 6, or 7, depending on how you count it. He's accusing these 5, 6, or 7 of gumming up the whole thing. How much sympathy do you have for McCarthy's predicament?
Zero, because he is a spectator speaker right now. I've watched him on the floor as he has been losing those votes. He just watches the board. There's a board, your viewers should know this, that has every member's name and how they vote. And he just stands there with his hand in his pocket watching the votes. And that's because he thinks he can only pass this with Republican votes because he's afraid if he uses Democratic votes, he won't be speaker. Well, John, he can be a spectator speaker or he can be a leader. And a leader would go to Democrats, just as Mitch McConnell and Senator Schumer have done in the Senate, and say, give us the votes to keep the government open. I'll put it on the bill. We'll save the cops. We'll save the border agents. We'll save the troops from losing their pay. Do it for the country instead of doing it for the chaos.
So
here's Congressmember Eric Swalwell again saying how we got here. Play this clip.
very quick questions. You got what, 11 spending bills to pass individually in 9 days? Will there be a government shutdown?
There shouldn't be. Again, I'm here. I'm ready to work. Democrats are ready to give the votes, to keep the government open. But right now, Republicans, they have failed to protect, they've failed to fund, and they failed to govern. They are the failures. And until they prove otherwise, again, people are going to suffer.
And when this is all done, if it's all done, do you think Kevin McCarthy keeps his job as Speaker?
Again, that's up to his own conference. And if he's looking at that as the priority, then America is going to lose. He needs to choose the country over one criminal, Donald Trump. He needs to choose competence over chaos. And he needs to choose, for the first time in his life, to be a leader rather than a spectator speaker. If he does.
And in terms of how we got here, these MAGA Republicans are very unserious people and very dangerous. I'm going to show you right now, and this is horrific that this is even the case. You have MAGA Republican influencer Charlie Kirk interviewing Marjorie Taylor Greene here. And Marjorie Taylor Greene spreads this horrific and dangerous conspiracy that is spread by Russian hackers and Russian propagandists to try to discredit Ukraine. This comes directly from Vladimir Putin, what I'm about to play for you, that you'll hear Marjorie Taylor Greene repeat. That's how despicable this is. Basically blaming Ukraine for engaging in trafficking activities and organ harvesting of little kids. Marjorie Taylor Greene just literally reading a script provided by Vladimir Putin. Play this clip.
And over in Ukraine, Charlie, by the way, we hadn't even talked about this, the country that Mitch McConnell and Schumer and Lindsey Graham and Tom Cotton and everybody can't wait to give another $100 billion to. Ukraine is one of the worst countries on the earth for child sex trafficking, and they're harvesting children's organs over there.
Yeah, and then she's making workout videos of herself. Here, play this clip.
But I'm particularly frustrated today. We went home for August recess. We should have stayed in Washington working to get our appropriation bills done, but we didn't. We went on August recess, and that's when we're supposed to go back to our districts and get work done in our districts. That's what we did. But we should have stayed in Washington and funded the government and gotten all the work done, hammering out the details. But we have 12 separate appropriation bills. We only had one pass before we went home in August. Now we have 11 left. Well, yesterday, in case you didn't see the news.
As I said, these MAGA Republicans are not serious people. It's very dangerous what they are doing. And I don't know about you, but I am glad to see Democrats like Democratic Congressmember McGovern, Neguse, Democratic Congressmember Eric Swalwell calling out these MAGA Republicans in very clear, concise, and powerful ways. I know lots of people say Democrats need to be better at messaging. That's A-plus messaging right there, in my opinion. Share what you think below in the comments. Hit subscribe. We're on our way to 2 million subscribers thanks to your support. Check us out at patreon.com/MeidasTouch. Have a great day.
Hey Midas Mighty, love this report? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram @MeidasTouch to keep up with the most important news of the day. What are you waiting for? Follow us now.